Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today, they're releasing articles left and right about how Spider-Man should be bi, and making a little jingle called Spider-Man, Spider-Man. You know, on that old Spider-Man song, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. It's really quite annoying as ceaselessly we have SJWs continuously trying to make everything either woke or rather, in my words, broke. But let's get into this article. Spider-Man, as far as we currently know, isn't bisexual. There has been no canon confirmation either way about it. Many get very, very upset at the mention of anything pertaining to a non-heterosexual Spider-Man. However, at the same time, there seems to be a pretty vocal subsection of the LGBTQ plus comic fandom that wants to see Peter Parker get a boyfriend, or at least feel attraction towards a man. See where they mention Spider-Man, as we currently know, isn't bisexual? They're saying basically not yet. So remember that in your minds. They want to make him into a bisexual. But why, out of all of Marvel's supposedly straight heroes, has Spider-Man in particular attracted this kind of speculation? There are already a few out and proud characters in comics, as well as characters who have a lot of relationships teased in the pages of them. Kitty Pryde, for example. So why is Spider-Man, or rather Spider-Man, such a popular headcanon among LGBTQ plus comic fans? God damn, that name's funny. They just keep adding letters and numbers. It's amazing. What's next? Animals? I wouldn't be surprised, but let's get back to the article. The practice of shipping has existed for a long time in fandom, properties, and universes, with tons of characters and invites to the shippers, mixing and matching all sorts of desperate characters up, regardless of whether or not they'd make up for a logical match in the eyes of others. In this case, it is important to differentiate shipping from the core idea of bisexual Spider-Man. Fans have shipped Spider-Man with other male characters for years, before the Hugo Award-winning fan fiction site Archive of Our Own features stories pairing Spider-Man with Johnny Storm and Harry Osborn that date back to 2002. And that's precisely what they are, fan fiction. You don't mix fan fiction with real characters and their lives in the comic book, because it ruins the character. Because it takes away what the character was established to be. And if you mix all these sudden things, making Harry gay and Peter Parker, his best friend gay, what happens to the relationship? It becomes a romantic one. So only relationships men can have in comic books nowadays are romantic ones, and that's unrealistic. Over time, more online support for Peter Parker getting a boyfriend developed out of the thousands of works just listed on Archive of Our Own. Peter's most popular same-sex pairings include Tony Stark, Wade Wilson, Ned Leeds, presumably the MCU version of Leeds, and Steve Rogers. This is compared to the surprisingly low number of works where Peter Parker is shipped with Michelle Jones, the most popular straight ship. It doesn't hurt that many of these ships have a representation in comics. The earliest ships with Johnny Storm and Harry Osborn play on the fan obsession with best friends becoming lovers and arch enemies to lovers. Once Deadpool, who is canonically pansexual, entered Peter's life, however, the shipping only increased. This wasn't hampered by the fact that Deadpool isn't shy about expressing his attraction to Peter. You know, the relationship between Spider-Man and Deadpool is played for laughs, right? It's comedy, not anything to be taken literal. Their Spider-Man is straight. Still, shipping is one thing. A lot of characters become part of popular ships. How did Spider-Man rise to become a queer icon today? You know, he was always a queer icon because he was a hero. And heroes are popular among everybody, that's what Zach from Comics Matter says anyway. LGBTQ plus representation remains surprisingly uncommon in superhero comics to this day. For all of the discussion of improved representation, there are very few good examples of it, and even less so when characters make the jump to the screen. The first noteworthy example is Claire-ish LGBTQ plus representation in superhero film was in the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Sure, characters who are bisexual in the comics did appear on screen, Mystique, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, but their bisexuality has so far been either erased or barely present. It's also noteworthy that the vast majority are women. Yes, there are very few examples of good representation for gay characters because they constantly want to turn straight characters into gay characters, and they probably at that point just make them flaming gay, and that makes them unrelatable to anyone. Even homosexual characters don't relate to them. That should tell you something about this writer of this article. If you want better representation, write better characters. Enter the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, which came to be a lightning rod for the representation discussion. Early on, when the first film was announced, fans petitioned Sony to cast Donald Glover as Spider-Man. Obviously, the role went to Andrew Garfield, but the discussion that Spider-Man could be anyone was given increased visibility from there. Not long after, Miles Morales appeared on the scene. One of Morales' creators, Brian Michael Bendis, referenced the petition for Glover to be Spider-Man as a source of encouragement while developing Morales. Speaking at a convention, Garfield once speculated that Peter Parker could be bisexual. If one fan petition supported the need for a black Spider-Man, why couldn't fans help increase support the creation of a queer Spider-Man 2? Now, others have mentioned in other videos about this subject that actors like Garfield only say that there should be a gay Spider-Man because they want to keep their jobs. Because if they say different, they'll be fired from, well, not only their job as Spider-Man, but any other acting jobs in Hollywood. The following subsection of queer Spidey fanon is an intersection of several other fanships and pairings that build up the creation of Spider-Man. I left all this fan art at the end of my video. You can check it out there. A very popular ship among some Marvel fans is Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Due to this, Tony Stark's recruitment of the young Peter Parker in the MCU led to many fans who also shipped Tony and Steve, seeing the development as an opportunity to create a Fox family out of the ship, with Steve and Tony being Peter's adoptive father, tying Peter even closer to the queer community. As I said, all the fan art is at the end of this video. If you want to see it now, just go there. But I'll get to those art pieces when we get to them at the end. But continuing with the article, it didn't help that the movie that introduced Spider-Man to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America Civil War, featured a ton of moments that Steve-Tony shippers lapped up. On Archive of Our Own, there are 1,435 fanfics tagged Steve Rogers, Tony Stark. Just within the Spider-Man tag, this might seem unimportant in the grand scheme of the archive size, but it helped strengthen the groundwork for Peter Parker being tied to a queer identity without him actually being paired up with a man. He's simply surrounded by LGBTQ plus friendly ideas. Other fans, especially on Tumblr, have also expanded on the idea of a Rogers Stark Parker family unit illustrating fan fiction with fan art. And that's what it is. It's fan art. It's nothing. It's just someone who had an idea to draw something and he did it. Nothing to be taken seriously. Oh, God. You have no idea what fun is anymore, do you? You've been so long being an adult, or rather, okay, not really an adult if you're an SJW, that you don't know what fun is because you're so brainwashed by all this propaganda. What is thought to be the earliest viral post about Spider-Man, as in not a ship, just a romantically unattached bisexual Spider-Man, was a tweet from WizWaz. Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man can. Kiss a man, sure, why not? Also, he thinks girls are hot. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. The tweet itself retweeted a funny observation made by Instant Teller about the way that Tom Holland's Parker we're getting into the jeans things. Where's his jeans? Peter's cuffs his jeans. You all know what this means. Apparently it's something about being available for something in the gay community where he's available for to be with a man or something. I don't really care, and I really don't want to know that information. But it's good to know. Now I know not to cuff my pants because otherwise I'll be hit on by ugly men. And that's good enough, I suppose. Now, here's the tweet itself. Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man can, kiss a man, and you get the drift. What's interesting here is that Spider-Man isn't kissing any man in this shot, or even sharing the screen with any. The observation just a play-off in jokes in the bisexual community. The source of the tweet, which draws attention to the cuffed gene, is a fairly common one. As I said, it's good to know this information so you don't end up accidentally doing it, folks. As such, many fans took this queer coding even further, and the viral tweet soon inspired a meme among the LGBTQ community that Spider-Man was a disaster. Unlike prior fan efforts, this didn't depend on Spider-Man being shipped with any men, but rather just him embodying traits they saw internally about themselves and other members of the community. Sure, he's a hero. He's meant to inspire such feelings in you, but he's not gay or bi. Spider-Man has always been a character defined by bad luck and misfortune. He is an absolute disaster by many metrics. This adds to his universal appeal. Everyone can relate to feeling down on their luck. The bisexual community simply applied the old Parker luck to their own experiences. Thus, support for Spider-Man snowballed. Not really. As I understand it, most queer and bi folks who hear about this hate the idea of Spider-Man being turned gay. At least that's what others have said about on their videos. All of this was just a spot of fun, of course. However, in many respects, what made fans more adamant about a bisexual Spider-Man was the immediate backlash. A small but vocal portion of fans are against the diversification of iconic characters, acting as though by character coming out as part of the LGBTQ plus community, that something that belonged to them is taken away. This backlash was very apparent when Bobby Drake came out as gay. Even with canonically bisexual characters, fans are often in denial about it if this aspect of them isn't referenced every waking second. The backlash came because you were destroying already established characters. If you want gay characters or bisexual characters, create new ones. Don't take a character and ruin what he was before, and that basically means he can't be compatible with any of his prior stories because suddenly he's gay out of nowhere. Bobby Drake, for 40 years, had thought bubbles that basically had him admiring the female form. If he was gay, then all those are lies, and he was lying to himself to a point where it would be unbelievable because he would have been thinking about men. No, you cannot go around rearranging characters and expect fans to accept them. Tom Holland has said more than once that he is open to the idea of a gay Spider-Man. The backlash to this announcement was immediate and harsh, that Spider-Man can't be queer because he's always been straight. Yes, that's the truth, and as we read in the last parts of this article, it proves it. The core criticism that a bisexual Spider-Man erases decades of history of the character of dating women erases what being bisexual is. Dating men, women, or gender non-conforming people. A bisexual Peter Parker can easily date Mary Jane, for instance, while still being bisexual, and even if the character stated to identify as gay, we learned from Iceman it's never too late for a character to come out of the closet. That's something that's also true to life. Or, of course, rather than snuff out the fandom, this sort of resistance makes it more powerful. The LGBTQ plus community has always been put down upon. Spider-Man has always been put down upon rather than scare people into supporting it or shout them down. Opposition only makes people want to talk about it more. In some ways, intense reactions on either side are to be expected for a character as beloved as Spider-Man, but for those simply asking to see themselves represented in the media they love, it's good to remember the famous words of Peter Parker's fan-appointed father. When the world tells you to move, you plant your feet firmly and respond, no, you move. In that last bit of the article, you can see the writer of it was basically going off of a PowerPoint representation of what it needs to be. It's such an important thing for the queer community, and blah, 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 as he read one point after another to say that there should be a bisexual Spider-Man. Here is some of the fan art that has been created for this online hysteria. I just came out to my mom as bi, and then she came out to me as bi. What a plot twist! I read this and immediately had to make this. That's not actually that funny. This is what we're doing now. We're dealing and debating whether Spider-Man should be bi. Come on. This is not any way to honor these characters by twisting them to fit your own agendas and your own, well, politics. No, it is not right to have politics and agendas and everything that is supposed to be escapism. It's meant to be escapism for a reason. To not deal with this constant hassle. And those are my final thoughts on this video. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, read comics, they're bad for you, then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube is not going around promoting their own creators' videos anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. I'm going to now plug for my independent comic book again, so come a bit closer. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.